like to call this meeting to order. If everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks everybody for coming. Any subtractions from the consent agenda?
No, sir.
A motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, first up we have the Planning Commission report. Mr. Reiner.
Trustees, we have a little bit of different setup today, but we're good. You're going to set that under the table, and there's the camera.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. I've written this out because it was a pretty good sized meeting, so I'll read from this and then take any questions. On Wednesday, November 15th, the Planning Commission meeting and public hearing regarding a text amendment to the LI District began at 7:04 p.m. All members were present and all City Council members were present, along with approximately 120 members of the public. 33 members of the audience had signed up to speak. Each was allotted 3 minutes to speak by Chairman Sternberg. Of the speakers, a construction worker who lives in Columbus, whose name I didn't catch, the attorney for Mr. Fradalone, and a Tim Work from St. Paul, and Mr. Emery Herbert, who noted he would like to see it pass because he wanted to sell his house and he still owned $60,000. Were in favor of the amendment. Mr. Jim McCombs from the McComb Group, who prepared a 2009 and 2015 study for the city, remarked that it was never his intention that any change of zoning would include an asphalt factory at the gateway to the city. The other Columbus and Lino Lakes residents who spoke at the hearing opposed the amendment that the City Council directed the Planning Commission to approve, even though we have voted previously not to approve it. Since the Planning Commission had no discussion regarding the comments of the residents who spoke at the hearing, I have listed a few to present to the board for consideration. There were concerns about the water pollution, the air pollution, and the noise pollution, and spot zoning. Someone asked why the city is building this here now. Is it an attempt to stop the future high-density housing in our sewer and water district? Will BRI be required to hook up the city water and sewer services like all of the other landowners in the business district were required to do and pay for? Why is the city rezoning light industrial district into heavy industrial for the benefit of one company? Why is the city shutting down John's Black dirt hauling while pursuing an asphalt factory that would increase truck traffic through the LI and CS districts by 20 to 30%? Does the city really want trucks loaded with hot blacktop or rubble passing by the existing and future businesses in the HR and LI district at the rate of 1 per minute, including weekends and evenings? And will the city and or BRI have a fund to help ameliorate the lowering of property values and the loss of business revenues in the existing landowners in the freeway corridor if the council chooses to build this asphalt factory in the LI district? Mrs. Krebs made the motion to approve the amendment. It was seconded by Jim Watson. I voted nay. Pam Wolowski voted nay. Garth Sternberg voted yes. And so tonight this amendment to allow an asphalt production facility to be built in the LI district without sewer and water connection is before you tonight.
Okay. All right, that said, had requests to speak, but I think we had ample time at the public hearing for speaking. I think it's up to the council now to discuss it. So, open it up to the council discussion.
I wrote a few things if you
Sure. Go for it.
care to listen to this, I guess.
We almost have to.
Yeah, I know. This is just some stuff I wrote together that I put this on paper also. I feel the asphalt plant should not be built in a light industrial zone. Asphalt plants are not light industrial, but industrial or commercial. So to add a wording in the land use to allow it is wrong and unfair to current businesses. Next point, I have about 6 points.
Go ahead.
We have spent a considerable amount of time and money getting the 97 bridge interchange done. We said interchange was holding up development. We are finally getting a new bridge put in, and we are considering an asphalt plant. Good development was about to start. An asphalt plant will hurt future development. We currently have 2 business districts, Lake Drive and the Freeway Corridor. Lake Drive has Foresight Contracting, North Pine Aggregate, Semstone, Ryback, just to name a few. The Freeway Corridor has Fluid Solutions, Coates, Ziegler, Running Aces. Why would we want to introduce a business like an asphalt plant in a freeway corridor? It doesn't belong there. It seems like we are taking what no one else wants. The city spent millions on purchasing land in the 97 interchange. A large portion of it is going to be set aside for retail. Who will buy it now with the possibility of an endless line of dump trucks driving through? Both Lino Lakes and Centerville have forwarded letters of opposition for the plant. Both cities will be heavily affected by this decision. Health issues are also a legitimate concern for the existing homes now and for the future developments along the freeway corridor. We were planning on denser housing units in the corridor. This will only hurt those developments. A large majority of Columbus residents are against an asphalt plant. We have some damaged ties to some of our largest businesses because of this plant. I urge all council members to vote no. We're going in the wrong direction for development.
Okay. You? Anyone else?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm in favor of the proposal that they brought up. There was 1 or 2 little changes on it.
Okay, what are you thinking?
If you look on page, just one change, I guess. Page 3, traffic management plan. That's G.
Yep.
The bottom paragraph, traffic management plan would include a mitigation plan to reduce conflict, regularly schedule outdoor events, and adjacent to hauling route. I have no reason why that would be in the ordinance.
You want it stricken?
I want it stricken.
Okay. Take note of that. Anything else?
No, except for that, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I agree with Danny on this, only because this was put in there because of the close proximity to the track. And now that the road is potentially going to get moved to its original proposed area, which would be through the city property, I guess I agree with Danny. I'd like to have that taken out of there also.
Can we bring that up? Mark?
I agree with those, no other comments besides that.
Okay. Well, I think this whole text amendment has gone awry. I don't think there's been enough work done on it. I think the asphalt plant could be put in place if we had the proper homework done on what impacts are really going to be. I believe the residents have been lied to. I think Running Aces has propagated a lot of those lies. I really, if you mind to keep it down, I'm talking. I think the real truths about the asphalt plant and the real conditions that would be put on an asphalt plant I agree, Jeff, in a light industrial area, have to be minimized so that it isn't heavy industrial. I would like that the council puts together a special commission that has people from both sides and sit down and hammer out some of the details that I think are really missing in here. I know Consumas and the property owner have been very, very upfront with what they want to do, talking about lowering the pile heights and adding screening. They've been very obliging to the requests that we've had. And I think there's more room to be done there. And I really think that, to what you said, Jeff, with the heavy industrial, light industrial, I think it can happen with the right stuff around it, wrapped around it to make the effects minimized. the company looking to go there, and I know, Bill, we get into this catch-22 about talking about it before the application and all that, but the company that's going there is a A-plus company, there's no doubt about it. I've done my research on the company, and everyone in the industry says they're fantastic. They are today. I don't know what they'll be like in 25 years, 30 years from now.
Dave, where are you from?
Yeah. I don't need it. So the company is A-plus company. Like every company, it'll be sold someday. Who it's sold to, we don't know. I'll use John's Black Dirt as a case. I mean, that CUP was enacted
1972,
1972?
70 or 72.
Yeah, so it was one paragraph and it left the city in a bad spot a few years ago. It's been resolved, will be resolved. I think an IUP in this area is a better way to go. I think it's, no, that's not my phone. Somebody's phone? So I believe we need to impanel these people, whether we have opposition and they come out with a better solution than, yes, you can have everything you want, or sorry, you have to go away. I think there's an in-between, and I think the panel would get us there. Short of that, I would probably have to say no with the rules that I see in here today. With that said, I would entertain a motion for or against, or an alternate.
I would like to make a motion. I do not know the ordinance number, what the program that planning commission brought forward to us, minus the stricken that I have
Okay.
noted for.
In section G, the last sentence.
Make a motion for, nomination for.
Okay, do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, further discussion on it. Looks like everything's been said.
I said it, I said.
Okay. All right, I'll do a roll call vote.
Before
Bill?
you do, there was a section that you wanted to address. Is that in the motion or?
Yeah, he had that in the motion or in the
Yes.
second, you heard that right?
Yeah, yes, what I struck.
Striking it.
Yes,
Last paragraph,
Yes.
last sentence of G.
yep.
Okay, you guys good with that?
We want to clarify, it's not striking the entire last sentence of that section, it's up to the word conflicts, right? So the traffic management plan must include a mitigation plan to reduce conflicts, period. That's your intent, right?
I know from there on is what I want to
Right, from there on would be strict.
restrict, yes.
Correct, okay.
But you know what that is?
So this is with regards, with regularly scheduled, from there on gets stricken, or the,
With regular structure outdoor events adjacent to haul routes, restricted.
well, you can't take half that out, it makes no sense.
It still, yeah, it still says that a mitigation plan must be put in place to reduce conflicts, period. It doesn't address whether it's during outdoor events or not.
Conflicts with what?
There would be a period after the word conflicts, that would be the sentence that the motion maker, that's how you intended
I
the,
intended to have the whole thing restricted, really.
okay?
Yeah, because that
And
whole,
The whole, from the
So no traffic management plan
traffic
needed at
management
all.
with mitigation plan, reduce conflict, yeah.
Is that what the seconder intended?
So all of section G,
The last
From
sentence
traffic
of
plan,
section G.
traffic management plan on to the end. The whole last sentence.
all right.
Is that what your
That's where
seconder was
that was
thinking?
clarification.
Okay, so yes,
Okay, so
as
that's,
Elizabeth has there.
okay, got it,
Okay.
thank you.
All right.
A couple of stockpiles in this.
yeah, went from 50 to 35.
I thought I read somewhere that Batoon's Roadways is doing 25 in another district. Did we look at that at all, or?
Well, it's on the table at 35, so
It's in the motion.
it's in the ordinance.
It's on page 2, it's already been changed to 35.
Right here.
Yeah, but somebody else has got 25 feet, a different city, I don't know. Is there another city only allowed 25 feet for stockpiles?
50 in another city?
No, I'm pretty sure. Well, North Sea.
All right, so, anything else, Jeff? Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Bill?
Aye.
Jeff? Danny?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
I'll say nay as it's written. So it'll pass as it is with that sentence. Okay, anything else on your?
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So what is the purpose of the planning commission if you want to impanel a different commission to look into the apparently coming
Because I
asphalt factory?
think the 3 minutes, my view, I was here, and I believe the people did a great job. I didn't know what to expect. I heard a lot about the racetrack. And the people that spoke, the majority of the people did a very good job of being articulate and getting their points across. Things like the running aces knew nothing about the track, about the road being relocated. It's a flat lie. And there's a bunch of those that are riddled through the people's beliefs. I believe that a panel of people on both sides could have probably in a different venue. It's the venue. It's not necessarily legally we have to have the public hearing and legally we have to do what we did. I believe that if we would have had these independent people at the table, we could probably come up with more of a mediated thing.
But Mr. Mayor, I don't believe you're right that you had heard things about the previous hearings with John Zlecter and with the track. However, we never spent 5 minutes for the last year and a half since these guys showed up in September discussing any of this stuff at the Planning Commission. There hasn't been any discussion of anything. And there's no discussion tonight.
No, there hasn't.
It's 10 after 7 and you just voted this in.
Because we have talked about the Macomb study and
Not at the Planning Commission. Or the Wink study.
that the city council, we talked about it. We've talked about the fact that there needs to be some rezoning, there needs to be some different uses. The only big box we got is gone.
And he stated at the meeting that he never
Mr. Mayor, can I
intended.
just
Sure.
interject something? The record on this decision is now closed. The
Yeah,
council
it
has
is.
acted.
I'm abiding by his curiosity here.
Well, again, that's, Mr. Counselor, that's the problem. Everything is acted on before there's any discussion. Did we discuss what a truck every minute is going to be like going 30 feet from my front door?
Did
No,
you?
no. There was no discussion
Why not?
of anything. Because no one on this council has talked to me for 9.5 weeks since this all heated up. I have experience there, I live there, I work there, I know the road, I know the traffic patterns, and none of you took the time or came to a meeting to ask, what does anybody think who knows what's really going on there? And now you want to put another commission. I mean, we should have had, and I realize this has already been voted on, but we should have had a meeting every week for the last year to discuss putting a blacktop factory in the middle of a freeway district when we already have it over in Lino Lakeside. And
Well, I guess that, I hear you. If you'd like, I'll explain my views to you later, but at this time, I have to know.
We'd like to hear your views too,
Well, I'll put it in my next ad in the paper.
when you're
Well-
running the election.
nobody else wants this by their home or their business.
Mr. Mayor, this is really inappropriate, this conversation.
All right, I'm through.
Okay.
And,
You should be ashamed of yourselves.
ma'am, you need to keep quiet or I'll have to have you thrown. Okay, no more speaking.
It doesn't change a thing.
Ma'am,
You still should be,
Ma'am?
all of you should be ashamed of yourselves. You were voted
Ma'am?
by the
Officer,
people to look after
needs to
their
be
best
quiet.
interests, and you didn't do
you're
it.
not in order, okay? You're not in order. Thank you. That's it, just. Okay, moving on. Presentation on the MnDOT I-35 project.
Joe McPherson from the Highway Department. I talked to
Excuse me.
him last week.
Excuse me, you need to,
Did not talk to
sir,
them at all.
you cannot.
Lying.
We would love to leave because there's so much slime in this room, we'll slide right on out.
Odious. And I'm leaving.
Everybody
I don't know how you can look at yourself in a mirror.
Okay, sorry about that.
You should
Wake
be.
up for us tonight.
There is no law for the people, only you people.
Okay, so, Mr. Mayor, she's gonna bring it up for us, but.
It's coming along. See, we got dirt.
We do have dirt. They're just prepping for the next year, which we'll get into here in a second. Maybe.
Has there been any cost overrun? I mean,
No, not yet. It's really, with the design build contract, they put all their effort into really getting a defined price, and so there really hasn't been any changes yet. One thing that I can briefly mention is with the Halupsik parcel, we're looking at moving that, basically the drainage easement into the city property, so there will be a little bit of a cost increase for that, but that's really been the only thing that's gone in the other direction so far. So they're working on looking at the design now and moving that, and there will be some costs associated with that we're gonna incur those costs and be okay with that.
okay. I like to hear that. And then you're still putting our Columbus on the bridge?
We are, yep. I haven't seen the design details for that yet, but that is in the package.
So as large as possible?
It's the same size that we had before, so yeah. That was as large as I could get it, yes.
This is the final one.
Why did you do the split screen thing?
You gotta change the input. There you go. I taught her something new, which is.
I know, I'm now like that, because my screen is like, okay.
All right, so here's our title page. We could probably just skip to the next one. We did change the name to just be the I-35 North Metro Split Project. That was one of the suggestions we had. So this is most of what everybody knows, but it's just really kind of just a reiteration of what we're doing. We're resurfacing the pavement, so you can see we put the years on here. We've also changed the website. It's a little hard to see, so you can see in 2018 we're going from 97 to the north, and then in 2019 we're going from 97 to the south. We're replacing all the existing pavement. We're replacing the 97 bridge with a diverging diamond interchange. We are replacing the southern flyover bridge with a new bridge, and then we are also replacing the Highway 8 bridge up at the top. We're doing drainage improvements, and then this year we're just kind of prepping everything like we were just talking about, Mr. Mayor. So we're adding some temporary pavement. They're grading, they're stockpiling materials. We're doing that surcharge at 97 so they can build half the bridge next year. And that's basically that's like.
So the northbound ramp from 8 to northbound 35 is not gonna happen, or?
That will, yeah, it will be, that particular ramp is not gonna happen. But the ramp to northbound 35 to 8 will be closed for like 30 days roughly. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about, I know Forsyth was interested in a northbound ramp there, because right now if you're on 8, you can't go north on 35.
Right, right now you have to take 61 and go north, yep. And that ramp could be looked at in the future. The design that we have in place does not preclude that from happening in the future. So it really kind of sets it up for that when the need is there. But right now there needs to be some more development in the area before that happens.
Okay.
So here's kind of, this is a little bit more detailed. We've handed these out. So we've just kind of started on the staging and the different proposals that we have basically here. So you can see spring and summer 2018, like I said, 97 to the north, the big concept, and then 2019, 97 to the south. And then you can see how Bree's got it here, where she's got under construction is in orange, and then open is in green. And so you can see they are in spring and summer 2018, they are working on that flyover bridge to the south, but that is offline, so it doesn't really affect traffic at all. So really the traffic impacts are like I just stated. pretty much same kind of information here, so let's just go to the next slide. And then, so then this is 2019, so this is the same thing here where we resurface I-35E, I-35 south of the split to Highway 97, and then we have the long-term closures on both the roadways. So we have 2 lanes in each direction. Here we are constructing the Highway 8 bridge over I-35, and then we get into the southern half. So again, that's how we broke it up. And then what we did recently is we wanted to give you kind of an update how we're doing the communications, and that's why Bree's here. So this is Bree, and she works for us. She's going to be doing all the messaging for the project and keeping you guys all informed of what's going on. And so I'll turn it over to her.
All right, thank you. So, the main purpose of my role in this project and my firm's role is to really make sure that people are aware and as prepared as possible for the construction that'll be occurring and the associated traffic impacts and other impacts that go along with that. Obviously, construction is what it is. It's not something that's easy. You can't mitigate everything, but when people are prepared for it, it makes things a lot easier. So that is going to be our role in the project. I wanted to walk through a couple of the main types of ways that we want to reach out to the local community throughout the construction. We are coordinating with all the cities and counties, all the staff. So we've already met with Elizabeth and Jessica to talk about some of the various communications components of the project, and we'll have regular communication with them so that they're all in the loop as well and can help push out our messages to local residents. We do have contact cards that Elizabeth has, and we can leave some more here as well today. This is really an important resource that we really want to push and emphasize. We set up a project-specific phone number and email address that we monitor. We do want to make sure that people are aware of that so that they know exactly who to go to if they have questions or concerns. Even if they're not exactly sure if it's related to the project, they're just welcome to call us, and we'll help figure out who the right person to go to is if it's not us. We will be doing business outreach as part of this project, working with the local community. We'll be reaching out to the Chamber of Commerce to attend some of their events and to make sure that they're well in the loop of what's going on. We'll also be conducting local business visits over the winter to talk with individual businesses such as Running Aces and others. Just again to coordinate ahead of time, make sure that they're in the loop about what's going on for the coming season and that they can prepare as well and push out their own messages to customers. We also want to have opportunities for in-person events with the local communities. So we do plan to hold public meetings in the spring of 2018 and 2019 prior to each construction season. That'll be an opportunity for people to come and talk to project staff in person ahead of time and help answer any questions that they might have initially. We will be sending out mailed invitations for those open houses so that we reach a wider audience for those. So if you could advance to the next one. We also have electronic communications. We know that not everybody necessarily will utilize electronic communications, but for those who do, we do have various resources, including the project website on MnDOT's website. Project email updates, that will be for those who it's an option for. That'll be really the best way to stay updated ahead of time on any changes in traffic patterns or lane closures, that sort of thing. The MnDOT's 511 website will also be updated. It has real-time traffic information about any upcoming lane closures or other traffic changes, as well as current speeds and that sort of thing, so people can check that ahead of time if they're able to. And then MnDOT also utilizes some various social media platforms, and will be sharing messages with Elizabeth and the city to help post things on your own social media pages as a resource as well. We'll also be working with other local community groups and other groups such as the school district, reaching out to Rotary Club groups, working with, we've already met and worked with some of the emergency responders and we'll be coordinating with them very closely throughout the project. And some of those other groups like that. We'll be reaching out to the Forest Lake Times, making sure that they have information and know who to go to if they have questions or want to write updates or articles for residents. So that's kind of just a basic overview of some of the outreach that we plan for this project. If you want to go ahead and advance to the next slide. This just gives the information about the project website, social media pages, that sort of thing. Again, I can't emphasize enough, this project phone number and email is the best way to get a hold of us if people have questions or concerns. So please, if you're interested, take a contact card and have that handy on your fridge or whatever, so that you can reach out to us if you need.
We can hand out cards too, if you want to raise your hand, just quick, we can, if you want cards, we'll hand them out to you.
Yep, or we can leave a stack on one of the tables too, if that's easier, whatever works, but.
Whatever you want to do.
So I have a question.
Yep.
When 4th of July rolls in next year, how far do you expect the backup already goes to Hugo? How far do you expect it to go?
It kind of just depends on really what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the message out that kind of plan your route and know that the backups are going to be there. Maybe people might change their vacation plans, might go out on a Thursday instead of a Monday. We will still have 2 lanes in each direction. We understand there's going to be backups and there's going to be delay. And we're going to do our best to try and get the message out there and mitigate it the best we can. The problem we have here is there's not a lot of alternate routes, as you know. So, really, you're looking at 65 and 61 are basically what you have. And so they're both going to be congested as well. And so it kind of just is the nature of construction, unfortunately.
And one thing I do want to mention too is that we know that project signage and that sort of thing will be key to helping people know what to expect when to get around the area. Again, we want to make sure that residents and others feel comfortable coming to us if they have concerns or questions or something seems confusing out on the site. We really want to encourage people to call us so that we can check things out and address them as needed.
Okay. All right, anything else?
That's really it. We're just here to give you kind of an update of the strategies and stuff, answer any questions you had, but they are starting. So.
Is there feedback that you want to give Bree? She's really trying to look at different media and how to try to get in touch with people and try to get in touch with different groups. And Jesse and I talked with her, and we wanted to get some feedback from all of you saying, okay, what do you think? Even if you had just one idea to give back to Bree saying, I think you should catch this group or that group, or I think you should do this. Because we're sitting around a table trying to think about how people get their information. But again, we thought about the Forest Lake Times, we talked about, the card, putting things at holiday. But maybe we thought all of you, since you had different people that you crossed every day, that maybe you had some suggestions for her.
And if you don't off the top of your head right now, you can always reach out later too.
We're going to put this on the city website, ain't you?
Sure.
So.
I think what Jessie was going to do is she was going to link,
She did
our
already.
website
She
to
did.
this.
She linked to the project website, which has all the contact information as well.
Good.
I guess, is there any way that with all your traffic cams and traffic counters and predictive stuff to say, because right now I look at it before I take my trip and go, there's really no way to get home, and I just realized that. But if there was a way of projections to say, hey, we expect it to be jammed up at this time.
They are, so one thing we did is we have, it's called non-intrusive detection on the project. And so one thing we wrote in the RFP was that they have to put that in place before the project starts. And then we also are adding 2 DMS signs from their basically mobile units, so the message boards. And so they're, as part of the TMP, they're looking at doing some of that anticipated time through the work zone kind of stuff on those message, trying to coordinate with our staff, with MnDOT at the RTMC to get some of that up there. Like, expect 30 minutes to get to 8 or, whatever it is. So we are looking at that and trying to think about that as well.
Yeah, I have a suggestion if you want to take it back to the chief. And it would be nice if right now they read out time 2.
Mm-hmm.
They read out, time 2, but if it read out extra time 2, I think it would be better than time, because it's,
It would be nice if that was like before 14 Bridge, you had time, if it was like 2-hour delay to get off on this Hugo and head a different direction. Instead, once you get past that exit, you're committed.
the thing is, they both funnel to the same spot. That's the problem. So you really would need that 694 to know to cut over 65 or something.
Right, and that's where it gets a little tricky because we want to coordinate that and get that back into our permanent system with the project stuff that we have up here. So I definitely hear that, and I'm trying to work on that as they move forward. One thing about the extra time, it's a little hard because then we can model the time it takes you now, but what particular day and what particular pattern. And so it might be 15 minutes today and then tomorrow it's 18 minutes, and so then is it 10 extra minutes or is it, you know what I'm saying? So
I would think the normal time would be, it's probably not time for this, but the normal time would be what it takes at the speed limit to get there, which is in my mind, it takes me 25 minutes to get home. Now,
right, that's one way to look at it. Another way is if folks are driving there, like let's say I drive, like you live up here, right? So you drive up here every day, and let's say usually it's congested. Well, then the normal time wouldn't be through the speed limit in somebody else's eyes per se. So that's why we've been just using time. But so because if you just say normal time, then it's like, okay, well, every day I know that this is going to take me 25 minutes, but if I drive the speed limit, it's only 15.
right, but everybody goes 85, so.
Right, that's where it gets a little tricky, but yes, understand.
The other thing that came up at our fire board meeting is, while you're doing this construction, they're concerned about these return lanes on crossover lanes,
Yes,
and whether they stay open enough so that they can, because they gotta go a long ways if there's an accident south of 97. If they don't have a turnaround, they got a long ways to go to get
correct.
back on both of those. Those will stay open.
Well, some of them will. So what we did is we had an MOT meeting where we had all the emergency personnel present. And so we asked for their input on which ones, what their typical base of operations were, which ones were important to them, which ones could be altered. And so we're gonna take that input, the traffic manager will take that input into account and then come up with a proposal.
Or which ones will be open.
Yeah, which ones will be open, which ones will be closed, when they will be closing. One thing they're looking at is because there will be added delay, a lot of times people will take chances and run the shoulder. And so then, is there something we can do to prevent that? We still want to allow emergency vehicles to access the shoulder, but we don't want it to be all jammed up so they can't get through there. So they're looking at some different ways of approaching that as well.
Buses will be taking the shoulder?
Probably not, because I shouldn't say that. Do they run the shoulder now? That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Okay, so then if they don't, then they won't. It'll be the same operation that they have today. There's no change in their operations plan.
They run the shoulder south of 694.
That's scary when they do that.
So,
Go
Mr. Mayor, I think we have a question for him.
ahead.
South of the split between Columbus and Centerville, there's a bridge there with no on-ramps and no off-ramps. Is that 188th? What is that? 180th?
180th, yeah.
How do you, okay, and then West Freeway Drive, getting an on-ramp and an off-ramp from the,
East Freeway Road Drive.
yeah, West Freeway Drive.
West
I'm talking about West Freeway Drive. I know there's other talk about other stuff, but an on-ramp going south into Minneapolis and an off-ramp coming from Minneapolis would relieve a lot of congestion on.
Even if it was temporary, so, we're talking. about.
Right, I know what you're talking about. So there's,
But I want to ask, Mr. Mayor, I want to ask.
sure.
So- And then the bridge south of there, on-ramps and off-ramps going both directions would help out Forest Lake, Lino Lakes, we got Hugo. I mean, the whole thing would relieve a lot of pressure off, you know what I'm saying?
Right, I totally understand. So there's,
So how do you,
there's a process to that.
Okay.
And so there's both a temporary and a permanent process. And it's actually a very quite lengthy process. And so it's called, it's an interchange warrant analysis basically that's done with conjunction with Met Council and also FHWA. And so you go through and you have criteria that you look at, and then if it meets the criteria, then it can move forward.
Can we start that tonight?
It takes a lot, it won't happen for this project, we just don't have time.
No, I understand
But
that.
Forest Lake has brought that up as something they would like to do, and we're more than happy to help through that process. And, if it gets to that, there's a lot of study that needs to be done, but yeah, it's, the one, especially on 35E, looks like it fits as far as spacing goes. The one on 35W on West Freeway Drive looks like it's a little tighter. With the split being there, it would be a little bit more difficult.
A half interchange, though, not full.
Right, understand. But yeah, there's a longer process for that, and I certainly would be willing to look at that with you guys at a different meeting, or look at the criteria and look at the study that needs to be done in order to have that
If you
happen.
could, we want to do that.
Sure.
The council is pretty unanimous on that.
Yes.
Because I know the Forest Lake Council is pretty unanimous on that.
Sure.
I know, so we'd like to get that started, so this is another thing to do.
Sure. So I'll coordinate with Dennis here, and then
Okay.
we'll kind of go through that, and then kind of show him what typically needs to be done in order to have that happen.
you know, we'll have one truck a minute, we'll want to use that, right?
Understand?
Good. Very good. All right, any other questions? No, this was yet.
We have, an opportunity to have, public messaging on the electronic billboard that we have coming into Columbus. Does the council feel, you think it is appropriate if we put the contact number on that billboard for the project?
You're talking our billboard that we use?
No, it's the changing billboard, even the electronic one.
On the freeway?
Oh, this is for this project or for our free piece?
No, it's they're public service messages we're allowed to put on. So if it met the criteria, would you want to put like the contact number on our rotation?
I mean, I don't know why not.
Might be a good idea once the project starts.
Especially when we'll have restricted access, one ramp at a time for months.
Not months and months. So it's the west side of the interchange and the east side of the interchange is how we did it. And so the east side will be 30 days, and then the other side, we will always have access from southbound 297, will be provided 100% of the time, and then the other ramp will be closed for 30 days.
So what will happen on that Forest Lake, Scandia, Osceola traffic that goes through there every day? Is that going to be down for 30 days?
No, so the bridge across 97 will not close. There is an exception to that when they have to drop the bridge, so it'll be a short-term closure. The only thing that's affected is the ramps on and off the freeway.
Okay, so it'll be 100% of that traffic makes it.
There's a short-term closure to take the bridge down, so I won't say 100% of the time, but yeah. The idea is that they're going to maintain traffic on 97. The closure will happen, it'll be a nighttime kind of weekend thing. Usually what they do is they do it almost kind of like in the middle of the night, so then it's open for morning rush the following morning.
All right, any other questions? Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Can we have open forum with the gentleman or the people from NDOT here?
Actually, that's next, so.
Right.
Sure.
So can he hang around? And
Sure.
Yeah, you'll hang around.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
first question I have
But
is...
either way, we're not doing public forum.
Okay, sorry.
All right, with that heard, anyone here for public forum? Come on up, maybe.
I'll just go over here and sit down.
Okay, quick question. If you guys come up to the microphone so we can get you on the record, so, sorry.
We really don't know who you are, so you guys take your hands down. Dan Mike, 15123 Hornsby. So, I live on Hornsby, of course, and there's a bunch of other businesses down there.
Yes, sir.
So, I guess my first question to Bree, and she's kind of the public information person, is there a way that the businesses could get on like an email? So we could get an auto email?
Yes, so that is part of the email updates that I mentioned earlier. You can actually sign up through the project website,
Okay.
and then you get an email anytime that we send something out about a change coming up or something like that. So yes, and that's part of what we want to do with this business outreach that we're planning to do over the winter, is make sure that the businesses in the area know who the contact is and know how to sign up for email updates. We can even do it for them and that kind of thing. So yes.
Okay.
So it's a long-winded answer, but short answer is yes.
So the next question is, and maybe this is Ryan, I'm sorry, and Dennis, and I've talked about this time and time again, the interchange at Hornsby and 97.
We're doing a traffic study.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, I believe we've mentioned before that we're doing a traffic study, impact study, as well as an ICE report, intersection control evaluation. We'll be providing that to MnDOT in a couple weeks, which will then, they will take that and determine whether or not, and Ryan can expand on this.
Sure.
As of today, if you look at traffic, there's probably not signal warranted by MnDOT standards, but we're looking at future conditions also, which Ryan can expand maybe on that one.
So what it does is, the trouble with a traffic signal is when you put one in, there's delay on the main line 24 hours a day. And so, also we as a department know the minute you put in a signal, it does cause crashes. There's an increase in rear ends and there's an increase in other types of crashes related to signals. And so as a department, what we've done is we really, and also as engineers, there's a very, like I mentioned with the interchange, there's a distinct category that you look at for when to put in a signal. And so that's what Dennis is talking about, is these signal warrants. Most of the time, the DOT, we really like to have the numbers first, because what happens is sometimes, lo and behold, sometimes development doesn't happen or it doesn't happen at the rate that's anticipated. And so you can put in a signal before it's actually needed, and then that can cause delay and crash and other kind of problems. And so in this case, what we're doing is we're looking at the projection, because we know the development is going to be there. I know the city's worked very hard to plan development there, and so the ICE report will take that into account, to kind of look at the projections or how much traffic is anticipated, and then they'll factor that into the warrant analysis, and then from that warrant analysis, then we'll see whether it meets signal warrants or not. And then there'll be a decision made whether the signal is warranted or not, or what criteria needs to happen in order to make that work.
Okay, I appreciate that. I understand you have your criteria you have to go through. I totally understand that. But any business that's down there now or future business, you can't get out in the mornings or in the evenings. You know, and what happens, the way I'm reading the report you have now or the diagram, there's going to be a right-hand turn coming off the freeway with no control device there, correct?
There will be a control device with the right turn. There will be a signalized right turn off of the DVI. So part of the problem with not part of the problem, I shouldn't say it's a problem. So it's you're crossing on the wrong side of traffic, and so when you're coming off the ramp, if you're looking at your traditional blind spot, you're looking at the traffic that's coming the wrong way. And so you're not anticipating that other movement, and so we are signalizing all the turns off of the diversion diamond at this time. In the future, that is a heavy movement, and I think that as people become more accustomed with DVIs, that might be something that we don't signalize, but right now, currently, it is signalized in the plan.
Okay.
So there will be breaks associated with all movements at that diverging diamond. That's one thing you will have helping that. I understand gaps are a big thing, and I understand it is going to be really heavy.
So do those people, when they come off on their right-hand turn, do they, if I understand you correctly, they are going to be coming into oncoming traffic?
There's a signal there.
Okay.
And so then the signal turns green, and then they'll go. And there also will be a sign, no right turn on red.
Oh, no, right turn.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
Because I can't tell you how many times that people, I mean, it's red as red can be, and they just right on through, you know?
Understand, yep.
So again, that intersection, and city council knows how I feel about that, so I don't want to keep beating a dead horse, but I don't want this falling by the wayside either.
No, and we're looking at it, we're evaluating it. It was brought to my attention after this, when we started looking at it. What we're doing, we are setting it up for a signal, so that is, we're putting in the left turn lanes. Traditionally, if you put in an all-way stop, you don't want all those lanes of approach. You want as minimal as possible. You basically want everybody in one lane, so you can kind of judge who's going to go next. And so by putting the turn lanes in, we are setting it up for a signal in the future. Just the question is, when does it go in?
And how would a roundabout come into play?
Roundabout is, it's a different type of device, and so it'll be covered in the ICE report. The warrants for a roundabout are a little bit more lenient than a traffic signal. The problem is with the roundabout, you have more right-of-way, you have more construction costs, there's more impact associated with the roundabout. But it is just another option of traffic control devices that the traffic engineers look at.
And they will keep that
I don't
in the
think it's gonna
forefront?
be in the report, the ICE.
Yes.
Okay.
ICE stands for intersection control evaluation, so there's that signal, roundabouts, or any other mechanism.
Okay, all right. Just one more little food for thought. When all construction's going on, the ramp going northbound off 97,
Yep,
the ramp itself is gonna be shut down for a period of time, correct?
correct.
So is there a way to relieve that traffic through the city property where, let's just say, New Hornsby is gonna go, kind of wind through there, kind of like they did a temp over on off 11th? Kind of that same principle?
We looked at it. The trouble was it was harder to get that one in with the impacts associated with that, so there's wetland impacts and everything else. And so we tried to minimize that closure as much as possible. So something we wrote in the contract was we did an incentive for them to reduce that duration down to 30 days. And we're holding them to that, and they get more money if they follow that commitment through. And so that was written into the contract specifically to try to minimize the impact to the folks there.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any other devices available? Obviously a bridge, but I mean, is there any other thing that?
There's some different things with like, we call them three-quarter turns, you know, where we would do like a right in, right out, and then you would do a U-turn through the median. But really, as an intersection control devices, you're really looking at a signal or a roundabout. There is some, like a green T, for example, almost making it like a T or a quadrant roadway, but those are all, they're not gonna work in this case.
So on Highway 65, they're putting in some of those,
They are, yep.
they call those green tees? or-
The reduced conflict intersections is what we're calling them.
So no right in, right out, and you gotta go up, do a U-turn and go.
Correct.
Right. Would that work here? So for the people wanting to go,
It could.
West.
The problem you're gonna have though is you're gonna have to go up and U-turn at the signal. That's probably up by Quick Trip. If you perhaps,
not a divided highway there,
no.
Not from the turn.
That's where you get into a little bit of trouble. You could possibly do an unsignalized U-turn halfway or something. I mean, that's a good thought. I mean, we haven't really brought that up or thought about that all that much, but
It's tough with a truck though.
it can be. Yeah,
It's not a
it's definitely something
truck.
we could think about or look at. But yeah, we didn't even really consider that here. But
So if it fails, it would fail on the stoplight first, and then it could fail yet even on the roundabout with those in that order?
I don't think it would fail. It would just there'd be more delay. So you know, like with a roundabout, the advantage of a roundabout is you don't have the right angle crashes, so it's safer. So really, it's kind of, but then you don't have the delay all 24 hours a day either. You know, where you go up there at 11 o'clock at night.
Right, but with no pacing, a roundabout's horrible.
Right, can be.
Can be, and that's the problem we have now, is there's no pacing. So there's potential that this problem could go away with the pacing, with the no right turn on red.
Possibly. You know, I think you're going to get some gaps. I think I would lie to you if I said I think it would go away completely. I think in the morning you're going to have some trouble coming from Forest Lake. You'll get broken up by the signal by Quick Trip, but you're still going to have some platooning through that area. That's going to be tough to get a left turn out of New Hornsby.
Could you time that light at 97 and 35 with the light at the Quick Trip?
They're not connected, but they do look at that. So they look at the cycle length that they run, but there is an interconnect connected all the way up there. So the signals at the actual interchange area will be connected. So
But no phasing. They're
Right.
not phased.
right, they're not connected together. So they look at the cycle length and they try to get it to work as best they can.
So Hornsby would have a signal loop. The only time you would get a stop is when there's a car, right?
Right.
So it wouldn't be a 24/7 stop.
There's still delay there, but yes. So if it's running in coordination, then there is always delay because then it has to run at a set cycle. But if you run it free, like you're talking about, where you just come up and it turns green, then yes, the delay is reduced.
So do you expect there to be a backup when you're done?
On what, on 97?
Diamond, yes.
I mean, there's gonna be some, but it's gonna flush out pretty quick. Because the cycle lengths are gonna be smaller, but you're still gonna have some delay, you know, coming up to it because you do have quite a significant traffic stream that's flowing around.
So all these millions, and it's probably still gonna be a backup.
Not a bad one, no, I mean, it's gonna be, I mean, it's gonna function like pretty much any other interchange around here, you know, like in the metro area or like 14. You know, you still have backups on 14 in the morning sometimes, as you're coming through there.
You do?
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, it's not like it is today, it's significantly better, but yeah, you're still gonna see some delay.
Okay, and what about when the church lets out, or Running Aces has a concert, or, I mean,
And those are the type of events you just can't really plan for. So you can build things to all kinds of different levels, and it's really it's like a cost benefit at that point. You can't really plan for the major events, so you're just going to have some delay during those times that churches get out. You know, major. What's the big snowmobile race that we have all the time up here off in
that's gone now.
Yeah, heydays. You're going to have a delay during heydays. It's just kind of
They're not here anymore, but
right. That's my point is that some of those things you can't really plan for, but it will be better.
The only thing they might see is when all the buses dump out down at Running Aces, that's a big jam up too right now tonight.
Can be.
Yeah, there's probably a couple hundred people that dump out there.
Mark, you get your question answered?
Yeah, it was the no stop.
Danny, any question?
I'm gonna turn on red.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I just say one more thing?
You certainly
You
can.
just did.
Two more things. So if this all fails, this whole traffic control device at 97 in Hornsby, is there any other method that we can do by maybe trying to time the lights on, at the Quick Trip, it's Everton,
Yeah.
and the freeway, just to give, in the interim, just to give that Hornsby traffic at least a half a chance.
Is that a raw wire thing, or it's done over
It's
internet or what?
Yeah, it's not interconnected, so there's no wire there, but we would look at signal timing and try to make it as best as we could, and I can certainly commit to that. So we have a staff of people that do traffic signal timing, and they would take a look at that. Usually when any new device goes in, they go and they time that optimally to try and make it best for everybody. They look at the side streets and they look at the main line and they try to balance the time accordingly to get everybody.
We'll give them Danny's
something.
number so that they can get it right.
And that happens quite oftenly, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, can you get a card, Dan? You need a card?
So Kevin Schwartz is the gentleman's name, and so a lot of times we'll get, hey, I'm having trouble getting out, and then he'll take a look at it and he'll try to give you a couple of seconds or, tweak it a little bit. But to say it's optimal, it's not, but he does the best he can to balance it for everybody.
Okay, anyone else here for public open forum? Not on the agenda item. Come on up,
I'm Robert Davies.
gotta come up to this chair and speak into the microphone.
So what I want to speak to,
Just you sit there and then we kind of moved our chair around, sorry. Just gotta give us your name and address for the record.
I'm Robert Davies, 7242 161st, and I'm here to speak about a few points regarding item 12.
12.
And my question
sure.
is, shall I do that now, or should I do it when item 12 comes up?
No, we could do that now, what do you guys think? Let's do that now. Let's do that now, you're sitting here. Yeah, that's
Do
great.
you need us anymore? Or?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
You're excused. Okay, so,
I don't anticipate this to take more than 5 minutes.
okay.
It's just a brief. Hello, Mr. Mayor, council members.
I'm gonna want to speak closer to that microphone so they can hear you at the back, sorry. Pull it up to you. There you go.
Thank you. I'm not here tonight to speak for or against this project, item number 12. Our project, well, the project specifically is the paving on 161st Street. Although I do believe my parcel will not get much benefit from paving our street, I am here to challenge the lot potential that has been assigned to my single parcel property, of which that is 3 separate or 2 additional parcels, so that my parcel then would have a rating of 3. It should be limited to 1 parcel based on the lay of the land, our current driveway placement, and the designated wetlands on the remaining frontage. There are too many difficulties in subdividing this piece physically and at great cost to access any extra unplotted lots. So it is not only incorrect, it isn't practical. An upfront charge for 2 extra unplotted lots sets precedent for future approval. So in effect, Columbus goes forward. So in effect, if Columbus goes forward with the proposed blacktopping in its assessment, the city is giving pre-approval to future subdivision. Before any petitions are sent out, I'm requesting the following. City documentation to support that the proposed assessment will increase the value of my single parcel property by the amount of the proposed assessment, and a copy of the proposed timeline for the petition votes, council deliberation, and vote on this project, and a formal assessment hearing if it's approved.
Okay, so are you looking for 2 or 1? If you don't like 3, are you thinking you should have only 1 assessment? Or are you thinking 2 is fair?
I think that as the properties are laid out along these, or in this neighborhood, along this stretch, that what is appropriate is 1 charged per parcel. And my understanding is, or per PIN number.
Okay, so, but if a guy has 40 acres and enough road frontage for 8 lots, then they get 8. So I'll yield here to Dennis. Dennis, you're familiar with his piece?
You're 7242.
So,
Yeah, so typically Dennis has a rule that he applies, and you can petition to him if you think he made a wrong interpretation of what could happen there, and that's happened before, where we've changed it. But so at this point, maybe let's let Dennis here describe his thinking and methodology for the 3 assessments.
So just confirming you're at 7242?
correct.
Okay. Do you have the red map, Elizabeth? Or I can put it up. Yeah, that one. It's perfect. So, I'll be talking about this area more a little bit later, but we're talking about the property right here.
Okay.
And as you can, a little hard to see on this map, but I put down numbers of potentially accessible lots, and everybody in this neighborhood was 1, with the exception of the lot we're talking about now at 3, and the one adjacent to it at 2. And again, this is the first blush through where if someone has more than 10 acres and at least 220 feet of frontage per accessible lot, or 440.
How many acres is that?
That is 19 and a half acres.
Okay.
And has 663 feet of frontage. So the maximum would be 3.
3, right.
And I did look at, there's wetlands like you mentioned
Right.
in the northwest.
On 2 corners, on the northwest corner and then the northeast corner.
So up in here, there's a wetland right underneath that
Right
label.
there, and then over to the right of that. So
So
the
the-
access,
The property right now is your driveway, right? It's
it goes
kind of in the
down
middle.
the middle.
And then the buildings are right there, those 2 whiter spots. And I did look at the wetland area, so you wouldn't divide it equally into thirds, but there would be enough potential access that this is field back here and buildable, so that you could get in 2 or 3 driveways or share a driveway. We've had that scenario happen recently, where there's a shared driveway and a lot split. So my first take through, I looked at what is the maximum potential developable lots, and that's where I came up with the 3.
And it
Now, okay.
Well, it gets into an oversimplification when you can simply say it's a shared driveway, but when we look at our research that we've looked into, it isn't as simple as that. So in order to meet the city regulations, in order to meet the codes that would be required for those things, then it becomes
I
more
think to your
physically
point,
difficult.
though, you should be able to come in and apply for 3 houses there on your property, right, Elizabeth? I mean, can you see anything that would?
You know,
I mean,
theoretically, if their road frontage is there
Well,
but,
that's where we disagree.
but again, whether they can get 6 septic sites on there tested, I don't know, because, you know, you
Well,
have
you
to
need
get.
3 permeable and 3 alternates, but.
And 3 alternates, so, and whether the wetlands were delineated or not, I mean, those are kind of things that usually the property owner lets us know. But if the house, the house is in the middle of the property, that might be somewhat difficult.
So Bill, if you could address one thing, he stated that by him paying 3 assessments, he's guaranteed 3 lots. I mean, what's the legality of that?
Mr. Mayor and Council, a couple comments just in preface to that. One is, this is, of course, the beginning of the process. There's two hearings, the project hearing and the assessment hearing. There's also the opportunity to provide documentation to the city engineer. I would say that if a property owner, they aren't guaranteed a lot split, but if we charge them assessments for 3 lots, there better be a pretty good reason for not being able to subdivide 3 lots. And that's why the give and take between the property owner and the city is important at this point. If they have evidence that they can't develop 3 lots, then we would typically go to 2 or 1. So there's no guarantee that a subdivision will be approved, but there would have to be a pretty good reason if we've already assessed the property owner for 3, not to allow them to develop.
But if we varied on that and went down to, say, 1, that wouldn't preclude him from splitting it in the future to 2 or 3.
Not necessarily, that's why we get the assessment up front. So we try and predict without having a full subdivision application in front of us. We try and do the best prediction we can based on topography, wetlands, delineation, and so forth, whether the property is developable for 1, 2, or 3. We can be wrong, and the property owner can be wrong. We do our best at that point to try and.
So I think it's good you came in here tonight because it's important that the project knows its costs, and if you have enough facts that you can give to Dennis to say, hey, I only can get 1 house here, I think you would look at it, now's the time to get him that information. But you can't just say, I should only have 1, you gotta have something to back it up.
Right, and I'm not prepared to lay out facts.
Yeah, let me add to
I'm meeting
the,
here tonight because I didn't want to take a lot of time.
Yep.
yeah, and let me add to
It's
that.
just a preliminary.
This is a preliminary, we had a neighborhood meeting with preliminary information. We try to minimize our time
Yeah.
until it goes forward. So like I do agree there's a wetland in that northwest corner, and if you split this into 3 lots with 220, you might have wetlands in the front of the 1 lot. But at a minimum, I don't see going below 2.
And the Bob, right? So we talked about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, the city changed our ordinances about land averaging. So you could potentially have 3 houses with 2.5 acre lots. If you have all that area for the wetland, instead of having all these little narrow skinny lots, we allow you to kind of clump your houses together, and the rest of your land is a kind of reserve. So you maybe don't know that, but that's part of some of Dennis is thinking.
Well, that's the whole kind of a hard, well, in this situation and in all situations, all the parcels are unique and there's different variables on all the parcels.
Right, but you could cut in a little short
Specifically when it
cul-de-sac.
comes to this, there's the physical properties or the physical features on the property, and there's financial features too, whether or not it's feasible financially to go forward and split on more lots.
Right, but I think the way Dennis looks at it, I think the council looks at it, is if potentially you sell it and the next guy comes in with a different attitude, and I want to get as many out of here as we can.
Sure.
And the city would allow 3 as it is, if you have the road frontage and the spot for the driveway, 3 with this modified format with a cul-de-sac. And Elizabeth, how many feet do you need on a cul-de-sac?
60.
60 feet. So for sure you could have your 3 houses on that property.
Mhm.
With
Could
our
there be an agreement reached where there would be no future development on that property?
Bill, I don't know if that's...
That's not been our practice because generally the council's in favor of development where it can occur, and so generally we don't make agreements to restrict future development.
Didn't this get shot down in the beginning, Dennis?
No, we're going to get to that.
We're going to be discussing that next.
Okay, so we heard you, and thanks for coming, and
Yeah.
we will, Dennis, if you have any information on specifics why you think it should only be 1 or 2, not 3, get that to Elizabeth, and she'll get it to Dennis.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else here for public open forum? Tracy?
I'm just gonna sit there.
Not another public hearing, This is about the racetrack, or this is about the blacktop line?
No.
Okay, good.
Do you need me to state my name?
Yeah.
Tracy Wilson, CFO at Running Aces.
And I'm John Dearest, the Board of Directors running ACES.
What I'm addressing is 2 specific comments that I heard tonight. One was made by the mayor, I believe, and it said that Running Aces propagated lies.
Yes. Tracy,
I take complete offense.
okay, and I talked to...
As the largest
Yes.
employer here, We're employing over 600 employees. We've been
Tracy.
here since,
Tracy, I talked to Peter Frank directly. Peter Frank, your guys' boss, told us that they would like to see that road moved from right next to the track. That was 3-4 months ago. I started down the path talking with Doug Fisher, with Elizabeth, with Ron DeSavara to get that road moved, and we got the road moved. It was Peter's intention all along to do it. Now, if Peter can't communicate with Taro and not put out something that comes in my mailbox that says Running Aces knew nothing about moving the road back, that's a lie. So that's a fault on the Running Aces' fault for not communicating with your boss.
the
It's a lie.
county has been working with Taro and myself and others on this road realignment. We had a meeting not more than 3 weeks ago, maybe 4 weeks ago, and they were showing us or maybe it was 4 weeks ago. They were showing us the realigned road and talking about, oh, what kind of fencing are you gonna want up? That's what we were discussing. We did not know, we did not know you guys were changing anything. The county did not speak to us. What I do know is the county admitted that the reason they realigned the road is they had cost issues with the easements. So that's exactly what I heard.
Just a second. They admitted that there was people were lowering up. They admitted that we had made requests to move the road. They admitted 3 or 4 different things, and one of those things was Running Aces wanted it moved. So they knew, Running Aces, Peter Frank, your boss, knew he wanted it moved. I talked to him myself, and every one of these council members talked to Peter Frank, and we all had that same conversation. So
Can I make it? And I had a lunch with Peter Frank at the track, and he told me, here's his exact words, and I kept his name out of it, but I'm done, okay? Because it is lies, it's flat lies. He told me, I do not care about the asphalt plant. He said, when he shook my hand before I got ready to leave Running Aces, he said, we need to get the road moved back as proposed where it was going to go originally. That's the answer to the problem. That's what he told me. And I'm going to bet you that there's other council members, he said the same thing too. So that's why we're upset about this letter. It's a bold-faced lie. He knew about it, and he asked us to get going on it. So that's the truth.
So why wouldn't the
You asked
county
me,
then
you
have
tell-
came to Taro and me and said, here's what we're doing? Why wouldn't we have been included?
I don't know, you're gonna have to
understand.
call your boss out east and talk to him, because you know what? When this letter came out, first, now let me finish. First, because I've kept my mouth shut through this whole thing. First, I saw it on Channel 5, probably a week ago Friday, okay? Then I get a phone call that this letter came out, right? I called Peter Frank out east, and he thanked me. He said, thank the rest of the council members and the mayor for helping us plant the seed to get this moved, because it's exactly what I asked you guys for. I said, thank you, Peter. That's exactly what I wanted to know, because now I just saw it on TV, and then I get a letter. So that's what, if you guys aren't communicating with your boss, that's your deal.
Why would you say that RA is propagating lies? I really
That
don't
letter was a lie.
understand.
That third paragraph in that letter was a bold lie.
I've got it
against the
right
city
here.
council.
Well, Running Aces, Taro
Taro's
and
name's on
myself.
that letter.
It's on Running Aces letterhead.
Yeah.
Taro's
this is
name
from
was on
Running
that
Aces.
letter.
Right, and I'm saying
It was
that we
delivered to
were not,
1,400
the road was
residents.
not discussed with us.
Well, then you better talk to Peter, because Peter's went planted.
The county has admitted that they moved the road, they made that
admitted there was
decision
other
solely
factors as
for
well.
the,
They didn't admit it was solely on those other factors. They admitted it was a combination of all those elements. Said, you know what, we're giving up on it. So Tracy, the pot's been stirred.
I
Taro
just
had
don't
an agenda.
understand why the city council would wanna tell the Running Aces or tell the community or spread there's lies. I just don't get why you're saying.
Claiming
and
we're lying.
Here's worse.
Tracy, it's right
This
here.
is the worst part about it. So Jesse gets up here from the planning commission, goes through this text amendment. I have heard very little discussion regarding any of what's been brought forth to you guys. I know I put together a presentation. Have I heard any discussion on how you're addressing any of those concerns we as business people in that area or community residents have. I haven't heard any
I agree with
discussion
you.
on
I
it.
wanted more thought done
And
on it.
thank you.
Okay, I
Thank
did.
you.
But I don't have the votes for it, so we're gonna go with what we got. It's the democratic process. I'm sorry.
Mr. Mayor, again, the reason I called the
Yeah.
last discussion
I know,
inappropriate,
but
because it's a rehearing of a matter that's now on the record's closed. If you want to discuss the road,
A point
that's,
of
that's,
order.
no,
Yes.
excuse me, I'm speaking, John.
I'm sorry.
If you want to have a discussion about roads and realigning roads, that wasn't a matter of the hearing. The reason that Jesse Priner had to quit talking is because it's outside the scope of the public hearing, and that's how the record is made under state law.
But Bill, she's talking about my comment, my
I'm talking
personal
about-
comment about this lie, okay? So it's outside of the road, this ain't about the road. The road's a detail about the comment. So I'm gonna stand behind my comment because I'm very sure that it's a bold lie. And I'm sorry, but that's how I feel, that's what I see. And I don't think I have any disagreement up here.
Not at all.
None at all. So, John,
So,
just a second, Tracy.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Why, so Elizabeth, you've had discussions with the county.
Yeah.
So the county has said why they've made these changes. I don't understand why you would get up and say RA is propagating lies. I think your job is to make sure each one of you council members that are voting on this, and it's a big deal, obviously. You've had how many, I don't know, I'm sure stacks of papers. I think you need to go through the information and at least appease us, saying, hey, we're doing this and it's gonna be okay. Here's why it's gonna be okay.
I have stacks of it. I've been reading it. I've lived it. I've toured plants. I've toured everything.
So can you-
But this-
I just
wait,
want us to
I agree.
know.
Hold on, I agree with you, Bill. This is back to the track. We're back to the bituminous. We're not talking about that. We could talk about my statement if you'd like, or you can talk about any of the other councilmen's statements.
Otherwise, you're giving one member of the public a
Exactly.
special public hearing that nobody else
Well,
got tonight.
all right,
there are
on
many
the
people who
road-
came here- There are many people who came here this evening
Yeah.
who wanted to speak
Yeah.
and didn't have the opportunity.
Understand, on the roads, I will just say that I am going to ask the county what
Okay,
what
go
they
ahead.
have. If they've got a letter, if they can give us a letter saying what.
I'll make a comment. I just want to make a little
Sure.
comment here.
Sure.
So I think, Tracy, we're looking at, we had a plan and we had a layout. And Anoka County was very committed to making sure Running Aces and the city were all on board. We had 19 meetings on that, you know what I mean, on the design. You know, as we're getting to the end, you know, we got 90% plans, and there were some, you know what I mean, there were a lot of facts that were brought to the table. And that sometimes happens. You get to the end of the line, and you're like, well, if I knew all of this before, I may have done something differently. In this particular case, I think there were a lot of factors. And looking at the factors, I think the county said, okay, maybe we should look at a different alternative. So we're at the very ground zero about, you know what I mean, as far as, you know, a new design or an alternate design. So we're only 10 days into the possibility of a new design, because up until that point, yes, we talked to the county said it wasn't possible to change, they weren't willing to change. This is when Peter Frank first came in, when we first talked about the asphalt plant. So I do think that, yes, the county will keep you in the loop, and they will come to you. But again, the county had to get on board with all of their team, and that only happened a week ago, a week to maybe 10 days. The last council meeting, I got the map 3 days before the council meeting to ask if we had support to even look at a new design. Because if this council didn't say yes, they wouldn't have moved forward. So we're only about maybe 3 weeks now into, okay, let's look at an alternate. So I just want to let you know, it wasn't like all this design happened and we have these big plans. This is a new concept, it's a new alternative, because there were quite a few things on the list of why an alternative would be a better choice.
And I really appreciate you, Elizabeth, going through this and going through the timeline, because, so that's my understanding of the road, is that you guys then said, let's do this, but Why would you make a comment that RA propagated lies?
Because it's on RA letterhead and it said that you had no idea. It said, read it, Bill. Would
It's
you
right,
read it?
it's right here, I'll let you read it. It's right there in the letter, and your boss knew what was going on. He asked us to put.
As you may
the
be
seal.
aware, the Anoka County released a preliminary redesigned layout for Facade 54 and 23. Running Aces was not consulted about the design change and was not any part of the negotiations that brought about this redesign. They asked me and my 4 council members with Elizabeth to get this redesigned. So how can they put that out there unless Taro has no idea what's happening at the top?
Well, we were not at all, we didn't
Taro's
know
name is
about
on
You
this.
signed
the
it?
design.
Taro's
There's
name is on
absolutely.
this.
If Peter Frank
that's what
made
he
a
said.
statement to you,
Okay,
I'm
so
not sure what that
We're
statement
gonna have
is.
to move on here,
Well-
but John, you had a point of order.
I guess I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
I just want to say, we've had a really good relationship over a lot of years here. And the city's been very good with us, and we hope we've been good with the city. And we have to move on past that, whatever the outcome of this whole thing is. And we certainly don't want to destroy that record. And I think what Tracy's trying to say is that we have a level of integrity that we try not to do those sort of things, really, and because we don't want that reputation with you folks.
Well, we thought there was a level of integrity down there, but apparently there's not. So,
Well, that doesn't help, Bill.
nope, it doesn't help. And
Well, so John, between you and I, does this letter with Taro's name on it saying they had no knowledge of it, is that accurate?
As far as I know, it is. That may not be accurate, but as far as I know, and Tracy knows it is. So I think that's what she's saying.
Absolutely.
But I think, Bill's right, it's a closed record.
Yep.
I think we've said what we want to say,
Okay.
and we hope to continue with a good relationship with the city.
Okay. Thanks for coming. All right, anyone else from public open forum? Oh, one more person. No, you're not getting up. Are you coming here? Yes, you are.
Back up without hitting
Okay, state your name and your address.
Lynn Carver Quinn, 7540 152nd Lane Northeast. Now that your vote is over, I sent you all an email today, I don't know if you've read it. Take the emotions out of it and let's move forward. Pointing fingers at one another isn't gonna do it. And you know what? There's been mistakes on both sides, but I read a newspaper article that the mayor referred to it as mudslinging on both sides. You have to understand your residents have emotions, and you can't fault them for that. Not one of you. One council member telling, another resident that, every council member has a conceal and carry. Conceal and carry is for that purpose. Don't broadcast it, don't use it as a threat. So there have been problems on both sides. So now you have to heal your community and move forward. And so my suggestion is that each one of you reach out to those residents that live there. Like I said, told them, I don't want it on where it could have gone, but there would have been nothing I can do. So reach out to them and don't point a finger that this person lied, that person lied, because we can all find misconceptions on everybody's part here. Now, one of the things I addressed in my email is, this is my third council meeting. And my first one, when I came and I told you to bring a business, because that's what people want. They want businesses they can go to and support. It was kind of like I got made fun of. And I was like, you know what? I've spent 15 years on a planning commission. You don't make fun of your residents because they want a coffee shop or a Chipotle. Maybe it wasn't intended that way, but that's the way it came across to some of the residents that were sitting here too. So you get, really, Mr. Mayor, your whole idea of a group from both sides would have been the best bet. But you know what? You're a day late and $1 short. That should have been something you thought of a month ago. So all I'm asking is reach out to those residents. Don't let them sit there like that, thinking that you're on your own best interest. You have to agree to disagree without being critical of them, just like they need to do that of you. But you guys need to sit down and talk to them, because that hurt them, and it could have been not as bad as it was.
Here's the thing that I think, I hope you're not missing, is, you know, I walked out there and I talked to some people, like I try to interact with as many people as I can, and I was treated like a bad, evil person. And you know what? This is just a minor job in my life, okay?
Right.
And if the people can't respect the President of the United States and the stupid little mayor of a stupid little town, then, you know, I don't know if it's worth doing. And if the people that spoke at that microphone the other night were very articulate and clear, most of them, that, you know what, those are the people I want to live around. The people that call me names and do what they did to me out in the audience, and I think you guys have all had experiences with that, they're not really looking at us as people too. You're people and they're all people, but you know what? We're people too, and we have feelings, we go home and we cry, we do the same thing everybody else does. So the respect has to go both ways.
Yeah, I had one of them come up to me at the public hearing, and she was upset because she got #2 for a speaker. And she's like, I was the first one in, but they're gonna let B&R go first. I said, that is policy. But somebody told her when she was complaining about it, hire a lawyer, somebody from the city. Okay, now we're getting out of hand. I told her, that is policy. They get to present their case, and then everybody else gets to go after that. So I encouraged everybody to stick to facts, because that's what's gonna get you guys where you wanna go. All what I'm saying is, as the council, in the position you're in, reach out and make the first attempt. No, they shouldn't call names, but I understand. They're upset, they feel like they haven't been heard, because it keeps going back to the planning commission coming back, and it was like it was being pushed until you got what you wanted.
So
that's all I'm saying.
Okay, they'll have time to speak out when it comes to the conditional use permit and all the other issues.
Okay.
There'll be more speaking about what happens in the future.
Okay.
Bill, Gary?
Well, Dave, I'll go after Mark.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The first meeting you approached me, we had a nice conversation, right? About our concept, what we want to do in
Afterwards, yeah.
businesses, okay, so that was good. Sitting up here is very difficult, as you may know. You have to decide what the city needs, what the city wants, what the people need, what the people want. Usually what they want is different than what they need. And to find a balance between all of them is very difficult. And to come up and just make all these accusations, it just snowballs, you know? It's hard. It really is. And we do the best we can, and we're not gonna make everybody happy. We'd like to, but nobody can.
So I'm gonna go back to that first meeting, because I came up to you after the second meeting I was at, because you told me that you went and visited that plant, told me to do my homework, and I did, and I told you all about what I found out. I didn't go to the plants, I went to the truck drivers that drive for them.
We really gotta keep this off of it too.
Right, so I did my homework as a citizen. So when a citizen brings you a fact, okay, it's your job to look into it, to go, okay, maybe this is right. If they're giving you, like I gave at the planning commission hearing, I gave a newspaper article and an environmental study into evidence. So that's when you guys need to stop and go, we need to look at this, because if this is really fact, that's all you would have to do. When they're giving you facts and it's not being heard, that's what they got upset about. So I'm just trying to make it so that you're not, I mean, because really whether you guys met with Running Aces or not, I wasn't lied to by Running Aces, because I really didn't have that much dealing with Running Aces. So don't point, it's kind of like when kids do something wrong, I can always tell which kid did it because they point the fingers. So let's stop pointing fingers, because Running Aces is a big part of our community, and let's all work together.
Okay, Bill?
So you made a statement that you've been here for 3 meetings. Okay. I've been coming to these meetings since 2000. Just about the time Running Aces came onto the scene, 2003, whatever. Big advocate of Running Aces. I fought for 2.5 years. We went through 3 elections back to back that we had to keep people in there that were gonna put Running Aces. Because let me tell you, this asphalt plant is this big compared to Running Aces deal. It was huge, okay? Nobody wanted it. Everybody said there's gonna be whores and drugs and all kinds of stuff. Guess what? I spent a lot of time at Running Aces, and it hasn't ever been like that, okay? Just to let you know. So being that you've only come to 3 meetings that you said, okay?
I've only lived here 8 years.
Okay, but this council has done a lot of good things. Have we already, sometimes you want facts? You want to read facts on the plant? You want to read how it's going to operate? I got it all here. You can read the actual facts. Newspaper articles from old plants, from old stuff is just what it is, old stuff. This plant retakes care of its own emissions, okay? There's very little that this plant puts out. That being said, I'm not supposed to go there, okay? I'm just saying, you're judging us by 3 meetings. You've been here for 1 year. That's great. But we've done a lot. I've spent a lot of legwork, a lot of my own personal time going back and forth on this, and so have the other council, some of the other council.
And I appreciate that, and I know what it's like to sit up there, but here's the deal, when a resident brings up a fact and a concern and they have something to back it up, you owe it to them because they elected you. You know what, I can put up a business and I can give you all the facts and make it look glorified. You need to go that extra mile and support them.
I've listened to all their complaints, stuff on spills, road stuff.
Okay, we're back.
Whatever.
No,
So,
Okay, I'd like to thank you for your
make the
attention and being
healing
here for
process.
3 and hope to see you here for 4.
Well, you know, and I just have to say one more thing.
Sure.
I can get off 35 and I can turn to go home and I can see every time there's a pancake breakfast because there's a big sign. I never once saw a sign that said asphalt plant come to the city council meeting. So that's all I'm saying. I don't get the paper, I don't watch the news because I don't like that kind of stuff. So that's all I'm saying. I didn't know until somebody knocked at my
So
door.
you're asking for a digital reader board on
There you go.
97.
There you go.
Point taken. Thank you. Anyone else for public open forum?
Can I just ask one more question?
If it's germane.
I think it's germane. It's to the presentation on the road, on the bridge.
Yep.
So will the bridge and those feeder roads handle the 1 dump truck a minute that they're saying in the WANC? That's the only thing. I'm citing what you've read,
Yeah.
Bill, which is the WANC report. And it's citing,
Schaefer has the contract to make it flow. They have bonuses for it to work. So the way they laid out the contract, I believe, Bill, is that there's bonuses if they get it done in less time. They have everything in their contract to make it be the fastest, quickest implementation of a bridge road construction thing. They do. So
and the roundabout that's going in on 97 will be able to handle, in the traffic, the 1 dump truck a minute.
According to the county, we're back on the wrong thing.
That's the county road.
The county road. But we're back on the wrong subject, so.
Yeah,
Dennis does the same.
Elizabeth, yeah, I can talk. Elizabeth and Dennis and Dean have been going to a meeting a month. They got a specialist just on the roundabout. And we was harping to try to get Holiday a left turn lane in there. And the county says, no, you can't do that. This specialist said, if you put that left turn lane, it will make the roundabout work better and last longer. So all of a sudden we got left turn lane. So specialists told us to do that. He's got a specialist, he did modeling and what else they call it something. And he knows what he's doing. We gotta put your faith in specialists. He says, yes, it will handle it.
Okay, thanks. All right, hearing nothing else for open forum, we'll move on back to Dennis for, we'll move to the DNR land sale letter, pages 4 or 5, you're back.
Don't you want to finish number 12?
Well, we'll just get through this as a table.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to do number 11?
Yeah, let's do number 11, but that's
Okay.
not very long, is it?
So in your agenda package, you have a letter from the DNR. I just wanted to, this is real more for information. I wanted just to let the council know that the DNR is selling the 20 acres of land up 189th. And this is the letter, you know, informing us that it is going to be put up for sale. The ad is already out.
Which piece is that? Do you have a?
Is it all swamp land?
Is this the one that was brought up about a month ago?
Yes.
The one we decided we didn't want to do nothing with?
I don't have the map with me of that parcel.
It's pretty low, and there's
It's
a
all
lot of
low.
land that runs through it.
Unbuildable.
Oh, that piece.
It's on the corner of Vassar Street and 189.
Why would they flush that?
Anyway, I wanted to let you know that it is on the market. We've been getting phone calls about it because they put in the ad that we had information. And just wanted to let you all know, we don't have any information on it. We don't have a wetland delineation nor soil borings. So I'm not familiar as to whether it's buildable or not. So we've been giving people information, telling them that because we don't have a file on it, we don't really have a whole lot of information on it. But again, it is on the market, and then this is the letter for you to get if you want to have any questions.
I'm not interested in buying it.
No, city's got enough properties, no need to worry.
Trying to go the other way, so.
Plus, it's not buildable, and it's,
So the question, your question to us is, should you,
No, it's just information for you.
Oh, okay.
It's information that it is on the market in case you have questions.
all right. I mean, do we need to head off that with we don't believe it's buildable, or?
I don't know that. I don't have any information on it.
So you just have to let those people bring to you wetland plan, all that stuff to make it sellable.
What I told them was they need to do their
Diligence on their own.
own due diligence. In other words, they had to do their own soil boring, they had to talk to the DNR about wetlands
Good.
and such, because I don't have any information on it.
No houses on stilts. Okay. All right, now we'll move to you, Dennis.
You will put a map up there, Elizabeth?
The map.
Unfortunately, my maps and my agendas are each, one's landscape, one's portrait. I have you spin them back and forth. Can you go to the one where it's not the aerial, before or after? The next one, up or down? The other one? Yeah, that one. They're a little easier to see. So, in your council packet, I have a memo and some maps and preliminary numbers for what would be the 2018 paving improvements. As you're aware, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, the Public Works Advisory Board talked about trying to pave the remaining gravel streets in Columbus. There's roughly 25 miles, give or take. And if you paved 5 miles every other year, you'd have it paved in 10 years. So this was the first area that was identified by the Public Works Board as a potential 2018 paving project. And it's fairly sizable area. So we broke the area up into 4 different neighborhoods, although maybe they're not adjacent to each other, so we could have reasonable neighborhood meetings. So last week, Tuesday and Thursday, we had 2 neighborhood meetings each night. And they're color coded, which should go along with the maps that you have. So area 1 was this area, west of Potomac, a number of different streets, but also this part of 161st. That was the first meeting on Tuesday. The second meeting was Cornell and Garrick. Thursday night we had the 2 other meetings shown in green, labeled area 3, 2 different streets. And then area 4 was 165th and the piece of Zingview that's not paved yet. So the 2-page memo that you have just summarizes the neighborhood meetings, and I can just go over those briefly. So the area 1, the red area, there's 32 different parcels that would be contributing to assessments for the project. We had people, residents from 14 at attendance, and after explaining the project and coming up with a potential assessment of about $9,700 a lot for the red area, we took an informal vote and came up with 7 in favor, 7 against, and 1 via email that was against. So
Shy of 50 then. Shy of 50%.
Right. Well, that's another item that we probably need to discuss is that, you know, the citizen petition projects, you have the 51% criteria. When, for this policy, with the city initiating it, I know that's the guideline. I don't know if the city council was stuck firm and fast on 51%, or if that's, you have the ability
We're down from 65.
You have the ability to order the project, right, if you wish. So,
Okay, how about the rest of the area?
so the second area, the yellow area, which was Cornell and Garrick, there's 17, and I split it up because the streets, the number of lots and the length of the street aren't equal. So there were 17 total lots on both streets. We had 3 people only show up, 2 on Cornell and 1 in Garrick. And for those 3 residents that were here, they all voted in favor. And the potential assessments are different for Cornell and Garrick. Cornell's about $6,500 a lot, and Garrick was about $9,950 a lot, because the lots are bigger and the street's a little shorter. The green area, which was 162nd Avenue and 159th Avenue, there's 32 potential assessable lots. 18 people showed up, so it was a pretty good attendance. When we took a vote, informal vote afterwards, there was, and I'll do this by street because the lots, again, are different size, 162nd having smaller lots. So for 162nd, there was 7 against and 4 in favor. And for 159th, there was 5 against and 2 in favor. So both had more against than.
So your number, I mean, is the high number, right? I mean, it's a safe number that you use?
Well, I lowered it based on the bids that we had this year, the better
So
bids.
it is using the newer number?
Yeah, I'll say, I'm not gonna be low, but it's more real, closer to what it should be based on this year's numbers.
Okay.
More than last year's. Yeah, and I didn't mention for 162nd, the assessments would be $4,800 a lot. And on 159th, I had $7,500 a lot. Then the 4th neighborhood meeting was all of 165th and the north part of Xingu. Also had a fairly decent turnout, 24 people out of 41 potential lots. And that 165th, we have a number of 40-acre parcels. So I did, some of them have up to 3 if they're on a corner, or up to 5 if they're in the middle, potential assessments. And both streets came up fairly equal, so I just used one number of $8,250 as a potential assessment. And we had, on 165th, we had 4 in favor, 16 against. And we had on Xingu, 0 in favor and 4 against. So the first 2 neighborhood meetings, areas 1 and 2, were one was equal, one was yes, and the last 2 were more negative.
How far on 165th is it go? You're going from Potomac all the way over?
All the way across.
And at any point, did you bring up the fact that on 165th, there was going to be a city involvement? Because that's a
It wasn't in the numbers, but someone asked the question.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, we had talked about this when we picked these roads, that if the city's gonna classify this as a thoroughfare or a collector road or whatever you want to call it, and then there would be some sort of city involvement, especially when it comes to, by the park. Obviously, the park would have some assessments, right?
Yeah, the city would have 2 assessments.
2 assessments, so.
I think that's what the question is. The question is whether or not, see, for other roads, when we did this, the city paid for the other, because we considered it a collector road, we put the extra inch and it was at the city cost.
Oh.
So, and that was 4 inches of asphalt. But I think that's where the question that Dennis and I had was, okay, is that where we're going on 165th? And Jim looked at traffic counts and.
We don't need an extra inch, do we?
So really.
Not based on traffic counts.
No, so why don't we just put that inch towards the first 4?
Well, that's what we needed, that's what we wanted. We wanted feedback from all of you saying, okay, we're not gonna put the extra inch on. We're gonna take that cost and we're gonna put it back into the project.
We also didn't know, nobody agreed on a number before.
Yeah,
A
of what it
percentage.
was.
Well,
So we didn't know what that number would be.
we don't know what that number's gonna be. We now have an idea of the cost.
We did indicate that, that number could be 20%, give or take. You don't want to throw out a hard number. We didn't vote differently. I get a sense that the vote wouldn't have changed all that much based on, it wasn't so much the cost, it was.
I mean, I thought we agreed that was somewhat of a collector road, didn't we?
We did.
But I remember last year when we went through this process, we had 49% were for it, and then 51 were against it, but the cost was almost like $12,000. I mean, this was substantially less.
And we only went from Kettle River to Furman then.
Yeah, but I was just saying, we had better turnout, it was a lot more money, and then we got less votes, just.
Yeah, I think it's, you know,
way backwards.
as you know, how a public meeting goes, a lot of it depends on who speaks the loudest and how the flavor of the meeting tends to go.
No, never noticed that.
Really? I got a hunch. And that, there seemed to be more, you know, louder spoken negative people.
But I wish they would have known that we were looking at some sort of involvement from the city.
Well, we did mention that, because the question came up, and I said your
Well,
cost
I
could
put it was
potentially
only
be 10 or
1 inch, there was
20%.
no financial numbers thrown at them as incentive. We say, well, we're just gonna pitch in another inch or two of blacktop, and so it really wasn't any figures to give the people to lower the amount.
Right, if there's 4 inches and they were thinking, well, yeah, because it's gonna be heavier road, that doesn't do me any good. But if they only had to pay for 3, then it would have been maybe, I don't know.
Well, the cost estimate was based on 3, so that was
3 inches?
3 inches. So if we add,
Well, it would have been 2 then.
if you add more, then the city would pick up.
The city would have put in 30%, 33%. Right? It would have been
Potentially. So one option would be,
$6,000 instead of 9, and they might have said, oh, $6,000, yeah, give me that.
one option would be, you know, this isn't to go forward or not, this is to ask if you want to send out petitions or not. We could send a letter out if the city wants to say that they contribute X amount and we'll lower the numbers.
So I guess the question would be to financial person, Elizabeth, maybe you can do this one. So how many, what was the total cost, Dennis?
For 165th?
Yeah. Because the other ones aren't collected.
Did them together with Zingu, so the cost was like 486,000. Take out Zingu, maybe it's 400,000.
Okay.
I don't think you should take out Senior Street.
No, just for, just for the
It's not
cost,
a collector road.
just for
We're
the
talking
argument,
about
Oh, I
collector
see.
piece.
just for the argument of contributing.
So 400,000 and 30% of that, 100 something. So the city could afford that, right?
30% is too much.
33%, I was thinking.
Which is why I said that really has to do whatever you, the policy.
The previous discussion used 20%.
I've been hearing 20% all along, 33%, you're saying it's too much, in my opinion.
I agree with Jeff.
I agree.
The other thing,
I agree, Jeff, too.
so let me ask you this question. How much?
Write this down.
Yeah, it's coming. Dennis?
Yeah.
So on Furman, there's obviously phase 2 and possibly phase 3 of those, the developments in there being, it's gonna shift eventually. Isn't phase 3 across to the east?
Well, phase 2 is already in, they just submitted it.
Right, but
Yes.
phase 3 will be it's across the road, right?
Phase 2 is 3 lots off 172nd.
Right.
A short cul-de-sac. Phase 3 is still to the west of Furman Street.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yes.
So then phase, I thought
I
there
think
was
it's
a...
4 and 5 goes.
Okay,
across.
so eventually, where I'm going with this, eventually they're gonna build houses in there. And so Furman will run down to 165th. Doesn't some of that have anything come into play or not right now?
Not right now.
There's no plans for houses down there.
2 or 3 don't go all the way down to 165th, I'm not sure.
Well, no, I know they don't, but eventually there's a chunk in there that will on both sides of the road. So I mean, maybe it's a stupid way of the head
That ain't 2 days.
question. And they possibly could be 2.5 acres by then too.
Okay.
Another thing to take into account is 165th is scheduled to get gravel next year, and that'll
What's that
take the
worth?
whole 25,000. So we have $25,000 in our gravel budget. I will burn 25,000 on that road.
So we could put the 25 towards.
I've done that in past projects that's scheduled to be gravelled.
Yeah.
If you give them 20% for collector road and then knock 25 grand off.
Yeah, that would get it. That would really make that one a different view.
20% off would take the assessment from 82 to 66.
And then take 25 grand off of that, because we'll throw the gravel money at it, which is what we've done in the past.
That's
Well, we
a
never
big
get
difference.
20%.
That's a big difference.
I'd like giving it 20% already and top it.
I like Dennis's idea here. We could maybe just call for the meeting and get this new information out. Maybe you'd have more buy-in.
We should send out Go to the next stage, send out the.
So the petitions, in order to make Dennis's timeframe, because we have one more meeting this year, and we would like to get the bids out. So if we getting the decision tonight, whether you want to send out petitions, I talked to Lori, and she made the commitment that she would be able to get them out. We would give them 10 days, roughly 10 days to get the petitions back. That would get them back by December 11th. Dennis will have to do really some fancy footwork in a day to get letters turned around for numbers. And then at that meeting, is that the meeting where they take the results and then order the feasibility study, if that was the case? And then based on the results of the petitions as to whether you would order the feasibility and I think that would put us a month ahead versus a month behind.
I think we should do it.
If we were able to do that.
I mean, the ones that are close, for sure. I mean, the ones that say 0. I don't know.
I think we should do it on all of them. I was at every meeting last week, and usually people vote better in the confidence of the home than will the public with the rest of the neighborhood. I think we should send out to all the projects.
I don't know about that, but I'll go along with your idea.
Thank you. We can adjust to one on the 20%, adjust it a little bit and see what it says. See what they like.
I think we should. I think it should be more than 20, but even if you made it 25, meet in the middle.
We just said 20,000, 25,000 on the gravel.
25 and throw 25 on the gravel in it.
Forget the gravel. We're not putting it down, we don't even give them anything for it.
We've done this.
Give them 20% because it's a collector road, it's more than we ever done. Well, you say done in the past, 10 years ago, more, I don't remember it, but.
What was an Notre Dame?
Notre Dame, we did 20% on Notre Dame. We did 4 inches on Howard Lake. We did 4 inches on 189th. So, when you have that, we did 4 inches on 189th, and John Spector picked up the other.
We could take the 1 inch off Howard Lake back because we can only go 35.
That was one thing everybody asked. Every meeting, can we lower the speed limit?
There you go, we can lower the speed limit too. Nice.
But you
Let's
have
just leave
designated,
gravel.
the only road you've designated collector as a city designation is 165th, and it's Notre Dame and 165th are the only two that go from county road to county road.
Right.
So Notre Dame, we did contribute to.
K3 does too. That must have been considered a collector road at one time too. That goes through three county roads.
It does.
I don't know what year that was done.
Well, way before we were here.
Yeah, that's not in any records that I have. Notre Dame's in my records.
But still, it goes through 3 county roads.
Or is it
So it's 165th.
Right.
Well, no, 2 county roads and a city road.
Or is it 25% that Jim wants to throw in? We've done that to every road.
25,000.
25,000, I'm sorry. We've done that to every road that we blacktop. Was it fun?
Well, I think that's really not the question. The question is whether we call for the petition, right?
Well, Dennis would have to figure out the cost, so at this point, in order to figure out the cost, in order to put the right cost in the petition, we have to know what we're putting in there.
I would say with 25 grand to 25% even.
But then it's the reason I'm saying not the 25,000 because we don't usually contribute 20% to the cost.
This is the collector road. It's something
I know, so-
we haven't dealt with as a council before.
I think what Jeff's saying is that we're putting the 20% in, the $25,000 of gravel probably doesn't need to go that way.
That's what I'm saying, we don't need both.
I mean, they probably put, nobody knows about Notre Dame, but we probably put the 20% in, but then put the extra gravel fund in there.
I don't know if it was the year that we were supposed to do gravel on that road, though. That's the only time we've ever.
Generally, if it's a year that we're gonna gravel a road that gets blacktopped, we've always offered to put the money into it that we were gonna put in it anyways.
Understand that?
Yep. So, I mean, if it didn't fall on, if 165th wasn't gonna get gravel next year, we wouldn't offer the 25 grand.
So we get that. The question is whether we should just take the 25 grand and take the gravel, put it somewhere else.
Or
Put
take
it in front of Jeff's house. Oh, you can't.
Or take the 25 grand and include it in the 20%.
Yes.
Within the 20%.
Why don't you make a motion or something so we're moving on here?
Or I'll make a motion, we can do that.
Danny.
So
Go ahead, Bill.
8 more minutes.
Go ahead.
Jeff's making a
I'll make a motion that we pave 20% of the cost for the collector road, 165th, and add, use 25,000 to the 20%.
Okay. All right,
I'll second that.
all right, further discussion?
I have to abstain, I live on the road.
You do?
What is 20% of, what's?
Yeah, how do you work that?
What's the-
That's
what's
kind
the
of
number?
weird.
80 grand.
All they're saying is that 25% goes into the 25,000 goes into 20%.
It's 25%, the 25 would go from the 80 grand.
So is it
So it's
400,
50 grand, 45, 55.
which is the 486,000?
No, 400 he thought.
I just, in 2 seconds, took Zingu out of the equation, so I rounded it down to 400,000.
Oh, okay. I was wondering where you got, I'm like.
Don't
wait a
quote me
minute.
on my numbers.
I'm looking at like close to 500,000, like, wait a minute, that doesn't.
It'll be closer to 400.
Okay, I get it.
80 grand roughly.
Okay, so any other discussion?
The 20% and the 25,000 was,
Goes into the 20%, pays the 20%.
Really becomes immaterial because it's 20% either way.
is part of it.
Well, but that, actually, your motion is saying the 25 grand he was gonna buy gravel with his, definitely not gonna buy any gravel for any other road that's gonna go to this project.
Within the
So you'll have to transfer 25 grand out of the.
Well, that's a good point.
Okay, all right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, wait,
Oops.
just don't say anything.
Well, I got to bring something up. Just an idea here. I know Jeff's against it, but if you've done that for every road that you've blacktopped, and we're not raising it up to 25%, we're staying status quo, so why treat this road any different than any other road? Take the 25 plus the 20.
I got a point of order first. If he's gonna abstain from the.
He can't talk
He
about it.
can't talk about it.
All right, I didn't say nothing.
Sorry.
All right, Ken, you didn't say that. The judge retracts that. So, okay, so we have a motion and a second in discussion, and I'll call for a vote. In favor or against? Aye or nay?
Aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay.
So that's for the 20% item. So now do you wish to send formal petitions to all of the neighborhoods?
I would say yes to them all.
Today's motion is send
There you go.
petition to all the neighborhood meetings.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it with the abstainer. Okay.
Who said no?
Who said that?
Sure, maybe about that. Well, actually, you can talk about it now, I guess.
Only if he wants to go out there.
Yeah.
Are you done, Dennis?
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, moving on, we have attorney's report.
Nothing further.
Council report. Bill, you're talking, you might as well keep talking. What's your report?
I'm good to go.
I'm good.
Nothing.
I'd like to say, to me, it's been a hard decision what we just took care of tonight. I'm glad it's over with. And I'd like to thank the staff, all of them, for the excellent job of controlling this problem at the meeting. I mean, it went smooth, and it did.
Could have went smooth. Okay, I have nothing. Public information quarter is not here. The administrative report.
I only have one clarification for the record, and that is, I did have a discussion with our other attorney, Jake Steen.
Second chair.
Second chair.
I'll tell him that's how you refer to it.
I just want to talk about process, because people have asked me what the process is. And so, for the asphalt plant. So after tonight, they will have to come back with a new application for the conditional use permit as a result of tonight. One of the things that we did not do tonight, which I just realized, we did not adopt a summary publication to the ordinance.
Can we do that now?
So I will,
You don't have it in
you
your
don't have to
packet.
write.
You have to have it in front of
We
you.
didn't have it in front of us, okay.
That requires me to publish it in its entirety.
This whole thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
This whole thing?
No,
The
just
the ordinance.
Oh, the ordinance.
Yeah.
So, just wanted to let you know dates then, so, possible dates. If the applicant came back with an application, the possibility is a public hearing on December 20th with the council, meeting on January 10th, or a public hearing on January 3rd with a council meeting on January 10th. So, some things that we have to work through, the applicant will have to work through as a result for up tonight, but just wanted to let you know that the current applications will not be able to be moved forward on its own.
They'll need to be withdrawn, and other than the bad application, which can be continued.
Yes.
Question. Sure. You gotta keep this, or can we turn this in?
The binder books?
Yeah, no, the papers and everything.
Yeah, the binders, if you're not gonna use them, then you can put them on Lori's desk. We have been recycling and reusing them. If you want to keep them because you think through the CUP process you need them, then I would say keep them. It's a kind of a collective record, so you've gotten everything to date that's been in the file.
I have a question, is this in there?
It is not, that's part of the CUP.
Is all the stuff in this in there?
No. Anything that had to do with the conditional permit is not in there.
This stuff, so, is this in there? Citizens, ordinance amendment, reference materials?
That's in the binder.
That's in there? And this, and then how about this one here, this fancy?
No. In the CUP binder.
How about this one?
No.
The altar? That, no, I've never seen
I
that.
would actually tell you there's probably this size in the CUP.
I read it all.
Of more material.
It may be easier, even though it's probably redundant, to not mix the materials that are in the record for the amendment with what will be offered for the CUP to basically start fresh. But you're welcome to hang on to the binder. But I think we'll need to make a new set of materials going forward.
Is it possible that we couldn't tear down a tree to do that? I mean, can you give us a USB stick or something? I mean,
All this is out on the website. We just, we felt the planning commission and the council that maybe you wanted to download this, you needed a pretty big file to download this amount of materials. So that's why we didn't email it to you.
I don't think it's that big.
But for thumb drives,
That'll fit on.
the Macomb study and everything else.
Yeah, that'll all fit on something. I mean,
Does everyone have the ability to download a thumb drive?
Yep.
I mean, just stick it in your computer and view the PDF. I mean,
Well, that would be if you had a computer, right?
I mean,
Denny?
it seemed like a lot. It's just gonna build, I think, with this process.
Jesse and I talked about thumb drives, and if everybody, we wanted some, feedback, and we're happy to put a download to a thumb drive. That's just a different, process than we've done before.
You can just email it to,
That will not go through our server, that is a problem.
how many meg is it?
Well,
The gig? I mean, the officer could drop off the thumb drive as well as this.
You know what, though, I think that the people of Columbus like to see all of this, and they know that we got it. If we just tell them it's on a thumb drive, they don't have a visual. That's the same reason they dumped off that packet with no information on it at our doorsteps a few weeks ago. You know what I mean? They want to think, all this information, that we're actually getting it. I don't know. I agree with you, this is a waste of.
it's all on the website. We actually, we posted it to the website, but in individual files, because it wouldn't go through the website server. When we get the Oracle up, it'll probably just be a little bit easier.
I would personally like a hard copy, but a lot of the stuff I wouldn't need it, of course, these petitions and stuff.
It's hard to say what's not.
I know.
And then once you started subtracting stuff, then you're accused of.
You buy the complete record.
And that's what we were told, give you the complete record. That's what we were instructed to do.
Some lawyer told you that?
Yeah, somewhere.
Was it this first chair or second chair? We're not gonna say.
Okay, with that said, the planning
So-
commission meeting is, what do you want to know?
Nothing, I just wanted to point out that the planning commission,
Okay.
the December 6th meeting will be canceled.
Yep.
Chances are we're gonna have a meeting on the 20th.
Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.